Hello, 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 hello. Good evening. Welcome to another beautiful session. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Wherever you're watching me from, accept greetings from me. If it's morning at your end, good morning to you. If it's afternoon or night, accept greetings from me. I would like to see some interaction in the comments just to be sure that I am being heard. I would love to see some interaction in the comments. So today, again, we are here this evening to talk about life seasons. If you've been following me for a while now, you must have heard me talk about life seasons. And so I thought that it would be very, very interesting if you want to know exactly what would be like that step forward towards making you successful this year. It's important to know what season in your life you currently are in. So today we'll be talking about life seasons, and I am really looking forward to hearing what your opinion is, what your thoughts are, what you think, what season you think you are in, and how you think you are navigating through that season. So right now, I would love you to share. If you're listening to me, I would love you to share so that we get a few more people join us on stage. Um, because I would love this to be a very interactive session. So the more you share, the more we get to hear other people's opinions, the more we get to know exactly how to navigate this period. So I'm delighted that you're all here, you're listening to me, you're following. It's time to get started. So, 1 minute while I try to share so that a few more people will join us. All right. So, if you're joining me for the first time, my name's Annabelle Lola, and I am founder of Bezzatelli. I started Bezzatelli like 2.5 years, almost three years ago. I started Bezzatelli in order to encourage women to be fit, healthy, confident, to encourage women to take care of themselves, because usually after childbirth, the tendency is that we women tend to neglect ourselves. Please, if my audio is okay, just let me know there. So the tendency usually is that when after childbirth, we tend to neglect ourselves a lot, and then we start we are in that phase where we think the child is more important. Obviously, the child is more important, but your own health, your physical health, your mental health is also very important. So during that phase, after I just had my baby, I started exercising, but I didn't feel confident or comfortable in the clothing I was wearing. So I decided to design my own brand, to start my own brand that will cater for the new mom in particular and women in general. So if you haven't tried our clothing yet, make sure to search us out on www.bezzatelli.com. It caters for sustainable clothing, sustainable, comfortable clothing for all sizes. And we also have a community group. If you haven't joined our community group yet, at the moment, the community group is a bit dormant, but with time, we are going to revive the community group again. So I am founder of Bezzatelli, and I am also the convener or the founder of Building Bridges, which is a platform that I started to help women because I am very passionate about women. I started Building Bridges for women to know what their purpose is. And the reason why I called it Building Bridges is that women from Africa, women from Europe, women from Asia, we can all work hand in glove. We can all work together to be stronger and to be better leaders. Not only to be better leaders, but to build a world of change, because as we all know, women are better leaders. Don't tell the men. All right, so thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to see more women join us today, and most especially I would love you to share with me what your opinion is about life seasons. If you've been following me for a while now, you would know I have either incorporated this in one of my teachings, or in one of my sharings before. And today I would be talking about life seasons again, because I feel it is also very important when you want to know your purpose. If you're still wondering what your purpose is, please make sure to go to the videos. Like there is a very extensive video on this page that talks about finding your purpose. You can watch that video, and then most importantly, you can pray to ask God for guidance, because I can only tell you what I can only coach you through what I think are your passions, are your talents, but I can't tell you that this is your purpose. It's your decision, you and the spiritual person that lives in you. So let's get started, okay? I'll start with this story of a king who once wanted to teach his son a lesson. He decided to send each and every one of them to the forest to go to a particular tree and come back with returns or with results. Please, if you're watching me for the first time, I would love to see your comment. I would love to see a like. Please share and tell people that we're talking today about life seasons, which is a very crucial topic. Like and share so that more people will be aware that we are live. Okay. So in the winter, he sent his eldest son to go to this tree and come back with the feedback. So his son came back and told him that the tree is barren, the tree is old, the tree is hopeless. Not even birds want to live in it. It looks very useless. Let's cut it down and use it for wood. His dad didn't really mind. He sent the second son to the same tree in the spring. He asked the son to come back with his own impression. So his son went in spring. As we all know, in spring the flowers begin to bloom. So when he went, the tree had started getting little cherry blossoms. There were little colorful birds living in it, beautiful flowers starting to spring out of it. When he came, he told his dad that the tree isn't barren at all, so we can still keep it up because it's a beautiful place where the birds and some beautiful butterflies are living on. Then in the summer, he sent the third son to go on the same mission. His third son came back and said there are delicious fruits on this tree, so we can't afford to cut it. We need to keep it up. We need to keep having it so that we can have those fruits. And many birds have also made this tree their home. So you see the way the different seasons, there were different events, there were different occurrences on the same tree. Then finally, in the autumn, he sent his youngest son to go to that tree. And when his son came back, he said, it looks very beautiful. If you live in Europe or America, you would know that in the autumn, usually the trees become very colorful. They have this orange, reddish kind of color, which is very, very beautiful. So his son said, it actually looks like a masterpiece. I'm sure you're wondering by now, why did I start with this story? The reason why I started with this story is that our lives follow this same trend. Sometimes in our lives, we feel like it's so gloomy, it's so dark, nothing seems to be happening. It's just like in the winter when this man sent his son to go and look at the tree. His son came back to him and told him, nothing is happening. We need to bring down this tree and use it for wood before it gets rotten. But during this period of our life, what is our reaction? That is what is most important, and that's what I want us to discuss about in this session. Please, I would like to see your comments. If you think that right now in life you're in the summer season or in the spring season, winter season, please do let me know. So like I said, in our own lives, we still follow the same trend. In the spring or the morning stage of our lives, this is usually between the ages of 0 to 25 years, we would see that it's the time of birth. It's the time of new beginnings. We have opportunities of growth. We develop. If you look at it, when our life starts from childhood, we do not have as much experience. Like when you're born, you start to crawl, and then you walk, and then you start to learn how to eat, because you move away from actually breastfeeding or bottle feeding to eating solid food. Then you start having little discoveries about life. You start forming your own identity. You begin to know who you are, what your life is for. You start seizing opportunities. You start thinking about what your life would be in the future, or what you want your life to be. In this stage of our life, the morning stage of our life, is the time when some errors are permissible. It's just like, let's go back to primary school. When we started primary school, if you remember, when you started primary school, you used to use a pencil to write. And you used to use a pencil because during those first years of your life, you're permitted to make errors. Because it's that period when you're learning. So the spring season of our life, or the morning stage, is the stage where we are learning. And if you are a child of God, if you're someone who believes in spirituality, this is when you're also supposed to be building your spiritual life. This is the phase where you can make some errors and go scot free, but not every error would be an error that will not impact your life. So you have to be really careful as well during this phase. The second phase is the summer, or the execution phase. Why do I call this the execution phase? This is the phase where you have explored, you're getting into maturity. This is a period where there is warmth. Summer usually is a very warm season. It's a season where there is abundance, there is vitality. But as a human being, this is when you're almost like you're getting into adulthood. This is when you begin to explore your passions, you pursue your goals, you start a career, you build relationships. Okay, I want to start a business. It's the appropriate time for me to get those connections and launch out. Summer is also very much filled with distraction, because as you're building those relationships, some people will come into your life that will be great distractions. Some people will come into your life that they don't really they don't really have a role in your life per se, but they are just there to either give you a push in one way or the other, or to give you a slowdown. So you have to be very careful as well during this period, because not everyone who calls you at any time during your day is a call that you have to pick, because some people will just be distracting you really. So you have to know, what phase am I in? Am I in the summer season? Am I in the spring season? If you're in the spring season, this in the summer season, sorry, this is the time when you need the maximum focus. You might have distractions here and there, but you need your focus, because this is the most defining time of your life, when you chose what you want to do, when you chose who you want to live your life with, when you chose as well what path you want to take in life. For some people, this is when they begin to build their businesses. For some people, this is when they think of getting married. This is when they think of starting a career. We have just mentioned that, and building relationship with potential people that can impact your life. But one thing to note is that this phase is not a phase for rehearsal anymore. It's a phase where you have to be very serious about what you do. Distractions will certainly come. Some people will even come and give you the most tempting offers, but they could as well be distractions. So you have to be very careful during um, the summer season of your life. It's a phase for execution, but at the same time, you have to be very diligent. You have to be mindful of how you go about executing what your goals, what your passions, what your talents, or what you think is your purpose, because during that period as well is a time when you focus on your purpose. You focus on knowing that this is what I was called for, this is what I was born for, and then you begin to act on that. The third stage is the autumn phase or the evening phase, which is between the ages of 50 and 70 years. This is the time when you build a legacy. You've had the spring phase where you could make the mistakes and go scot free, not every mistake. You had the summer phase where you needed focus, where you needed to divert a little bit from distractions, and where you needed to build yourself. In this phase, you have to start reflecting, because usually when we get to 70, 75, we start thinking of our transition. When I talk about transition, it could mean a lot of things. Sometimes you're thinking of what is my legacy that I want to leave when I transit from this life to the next one. You start thinking about it within this phase, within the 50s and 70s. It's a time to reflect about your past experiences. What are those things that I did great? It's a time to reassess your priorities. What can I change? Like when you have that moment of reflection, it's time for you to ask yourself as well, these are the experiences I've had in the past maybe 50 years. And I had these experiences due to these events that I attended, or due to these events that happened in my life. Are there any things that I can change? Are there any things that I can improve? And during this phase as well, because you're preparing your retirement, you start asking yourself, what can I leave on to people when I pass on? What can I leave? What's that one thing that I want to be remembered for when I leave this earth? You can start, maybe you had started building your business in your early 40s or in your early 50s. You can as well start thinking of it, how can it be a real legacy that it won't die when I die, or when I take my retirement? What happens to the business? There are so many businesses today that have had to close because the original person, the original visionary, or the original person who had the idea of starting that business is no more. So this is a phase where you start asking yourself, who is going to take over? And looking at it from another perspective, the evening stage or the autumn stage of your life shouldn't be the only time when you think of who would be your successor in your business or in your family. While you're moving through the other stages, like the summer stage, when you're more mature, when you know a few more things, that's a very good time for you to start building or training, raising up someone that is your potential successor. During the autumn season of our lives as well, it's a time to reap. During the spring season, you had the time, you had the opportunity to make mistakes, you had the opportunity to learn, to grow. In the summer, then you started to build, you engaged into a job, you got new relationships, maybe you got married, you got a job, you started a business. In the autumn now is the time when you start to reap from the fruit of that business. You start reaping from the fruit of your labor. Everything that you have invested in, all the things that you've been able to do up to now, that's when you start eating from the fruits of your labor. Whether we succeed or we fail in this season, it depends on the way we prepared the previous stages. So I'm going to ask you today, what season in life do you think you're in? Because some seasons in our lives would be that season where you only need to learn. Some seasons are seasons where we need to apply what we have learned. And some seasons will be seasons where you learn while applying at the same time. I'm sure most people listening to this live now would have passed the first few years of their life. That is the spring stage of life, 0 to 25 years old. That's the stage where errors are permissible. That's the stage where you begin to learn, your mind opens, you develop new ideas, you develop your creativity. And then in the summer, you start thinking like a mature person. Now that I have this knowledge, what can I make out of it? Do I want to start a business? Do I want to go get a job? Do I want to maybe start an NGO? Do I want to start a hospital? Do I want to start a school? And in the autumn now, when you're a little much older, that's when you start harvesting the seed of your labor during these seasons of your life, during the past seasons. And make sure that when you're harvesting or when you're reaping the fruit of your labor, you save some for the winter. Because sometimes the winter can be very cold, as you and I know. The winter can be really cold that if you didn't have some backup, you might be very hungry or you might be really cold. When I say cold in this sense, I mean you might lack food to eat. You might lack those relationships that you have built because you didn't kind of mold them very well. You didn't kind of create those profound relationships, or those relationships were momentary relationships. And it's okay. Some relationships in our lives come to teach us lessons. Some relationships are just for a few moments, for a few weeks, for a few years. Take the most important out of those relationships and use them to advance. Some of those relationships comes to strengthen you. Some come to teach you lessons, and some come to tell you that you have to be more focused. So make the most of every season of your life so that when it's time to reap, you'll have a bountiful harvest. Then finally, we have the fourth stage of life, which I termed the winter season, or the time to rest. That's a time when you are not supposed to work as much as you used to do in the earlier years of your life. This is from the age of 75 and above. Most people that are working in their purpose, they still work during this age of their life, but they do not work as much. I'll take an example of one of the great mentors that I follow, John C. Maxwell. John C. Maxwell, I believe he's in this age group at the moment. What I have noticed that he's doing is to kind of bring new, or bring fresh blood, bring fresh ideas into his organization. He's bringing popular and influential and people who have knowledge in his area of business, which is leadership. He's bringing more influential and young people with great ideas so that they can come in and not only take over but bring in their own ideas. So it's not about, they're not coming to take his business away from him, but they are coming to continue his legacy in the same way that he started. He is still working in his business, but he doesn't work as much as he used to do because there are other people doing the same thing that he can do, and maybe bring it because they're bringing in fresh ideas. Considering that they're much younger, they could be bringing better ideas as well. So it's a stage where you share your wisdom as well. Everything that you have learned, all the knowledge that you have had in the past years, it's time to impart them to uh, future generations so that when you're no more, your legacy doesn't die. So this is a period when you just mainly sit back, share the experience, share the wisdom, share the knowledge for people to take it and run with it. In this season as well, it can be a little bit lonely. I know I was talking with a friend who recently lost her aunt. Like when people get to this phase, to this age of 75, 80s, they start thinking, oh, all my friends are gone, which means I have a very few years to go. So it's a very lonely phase because some of your friends may have already parted to the other life, but it's also a time for introspection. It's a time when you start really asking yourself, okay, I have made all this wealth, I've had all of this, but how can I pass it on? How can I make sure that when I go, this doesn't go with me? So this is the time when you have to really share that wisdom, share the knowledge with others. And it's also a time when you actually share all your experiences, because you want those that will take over to know exactly what they are involving themselves into, to know exactly how they can navigate through every stage of the business. So if you're in business, think of it this way: when I get to this stage of my life, what will I be doing? Who are the people that I potentially want to impart this knowledge on? Who are the people that I want them to carry the legacy of this business to another generation? So this is a time when you start really getting prepared for maybe handing over to a much younger or fresh blood, as some people will call it. So I would like to hear from you. What stage of life do you believe you are in? Because, like the experience of the tree, we can all see that we have those phases in our lives. Sometimes we might even go bankrupt, just like the tree. It lost all its leaves in the winter. It had nothing. It was barren. Sometimes it could be our job. You lose your job. Your health is in a very bad situation, and you think that all hope is lost. Just like the tree, I want to encourage you that all hope is not lost. As much as your health might be in a very, very bad situation right now, or you might be going through a bankruptcy, you might be going through a divorce, there is always hope. As long as you don't give up, you find a support system, you find people that you can trust, or you go for counseling, you find people that can people that have gone the way and you potentially want to be like them. For instance, if you're going through a divorce, you can find someone who has been through and is living a much fulfilled life now and confide in them. Or you can go to a marriage counselor. If you're going through bankruptcy, what area of business are you in? And who are those people that are leading the trend in that area of business that you potentially want to be like? You can always, today the world has become like a global village, as it's called. You don't have to go to their location. You can be wherever you are and they will coach you from their own location online, just like this session I'm doing. You don't have to be with people in person before they can impart knowledge on you, or whatever. So it's about you looking at things from the positive point of view, not always from the negative. The tree, when we started, it was barren, and then in the spring, it started having life. It started having it started blooming slowly, and then in the summer, it was a beautiful tree with fruits. Then in the autumn, as much as it didn't have any fruits anymore, the leaves were still beautiful. So look at your life from that perspective. I was born, I developed, I grew slowly, and then I learned a lot of things. I had to unlearn certain things in my maturity. That's in my summer stage, in the summer stage of my life. I had to unlearn certain things. I had to let go of certain relationships, build certain relationships. I had to get a job, or I had to start my business. I had to discover my purpose. Then now I'm in the autumn phase of my life when I have to reap all the fruit of my labor. All these years I've been working, now it's time for me to harvest. finally the winter stage. Okay, I've been working and saving, so I have a lot in store, and now it's time for me to pass my legacy to another generation that would take it further, so that my business, or so that whatever I have engaged in doesn't go when I'm gone. So I would like to hear from you. What phase in life do you think you are in? Do you think you are in the summer stage, in the winter stage, in the autumn phase, or in the winter phase? Whatever phase you find yourself, do not judge your life based on your current situation. That's what I'm going to say. Your current situation is just a phase. Like I said earlier, it could be there to teach you a lesson. It could be there to show you that you need to learn more. It could also be there to show you that this might not be the right path for you. So you have to pause and redirect or pivot. Every season in our lives has a purpose. If you're going through a very down season right now, it could be there to teach you a lesson. What lesson am I learning from this? What lesson am I learning from my current situation? What's my take home message from whatever is happening? Because if you just soak yourself in that situation, you won't get the benefit of what that season came to show you. The reason why I chose this topic tonight is that myself, I'm going through a season. I'm going through a season of change, which I think we all at some point go through that season of change. But it is what we learn from those seasons that matter. That season won't be of any help to you if you do not take the benefit of it. The benefit of it here is learning the lesson of the season. Some seasons come to teach us patience, while other seasons come to teach us resilience. What do you think the current season you're in is teaching you? Is it asking you to slow down on yourself? Or is it telling you that you need to work harder? Or is it telling you that you need to let go of certain relationships? Or is it telling you, go grab that job, now is the right time? Or it might be telling you, it's time to get back to school. It's never too late. It might just be telling you, go back to school, or rise up and pick up your pieces. Whatever situation you're going through, do not give up on yourself. That's the only thing I can say. Because when you give up, you take the defeated position, which is a position where you won't be able to do anything. But if you tell yourself that this situation has come and it's just for a season, it's just for a moment. Regardless of what we do, our life is in seasons, whether we like it or not. There will be situations where we would be doing very well, we'll be doing great, everything seems to be going amazing, and another season where nothing seems to be working. Everything just seems to have shut down or to have slowed down on you. But the lesson that you learn from that season is what is important. Even when the season is like the summer season or the spring season, when everything seems to be booming, ask yourself, everything seems to be going right, but what is the thing that I need to learn from this season? What's one takeaway from this season? Though everything is going right, if I sit down and evaluate everything, what is one thing that I need to take from this season? And you might realize sometimes that this season is going well, in your opinion, but there is just one little pluck that you need to pluck to get to the overflow. or to your fulfillment. So ask yourself, what's one thing that I need to change, or what's one thing that I need to tweak in my current situation? You might be grieving right now. Life, after life, there is always death. That's one thing that we need to know. It's a very sad thing when we have to lose someone, but it does have to happen because we are not immortals. We are just human beings. So, what's one thing that you're learning from your situation? When you're grieving, remember the person you're grieving. I'm sure that person would want you to be the happiest person in the world. So, look at it from the bright side, celebrate their lives. Okay, so I would give a few minutes for questions. I had planned this live for 30 minutes, and I think I have gone over 6 or 7 minutes overboard right now. If anyone has a question, or what is one key takeaway, what's just one word that you're taking away from this session today, I would like you to share with us in the chat. Life is in seasons, whether we like it or not. Some days we would wake up energized, ready to conquer the earth, and other days we would wake up with the lowest spirit. But what you make of that day that you wake up with a very low spirit is what propels you to success. Because we are on this series on how to make your year a successful year, always look at every season like a season that is meant to propel you to your success. What am I learning? How can I put that into practice? Who can help me? What can I change? What can I let go? Are questions you should be asking yourself constantly when you want to succeed. So thank you everyone for listening. While waiting to see if I'll get any questions, I would like to share with you this quote from Jim Rohn. He says, "You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change your circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. That is something you have charge of." So you must take responsibility of everything. You cannot change your circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. Like I said earlier, the season you're going through, is it to teach you resilience? Is it to make you a better person? Is it to make you go from that phase where you used to be very angry, or you used to be a very a person who doesn't forgive easily, or someone who bears grudges at people all the time, or a very unhappy person? What can you change about yourself? Because that is what matters. It's not about changing the season you're in, it's about changing yourself. So, what's one thing that you can change about yourself that will make your season a fruitful one? I want to say a huge thank you for everyone who joined. I can see my dearest sister, Dr. Marcel, all the way from the United States. Hello to you. I can see my lovely daddy all the way from Bafsam, Cameroon. Good evening to you. And I can see my fellow co-host all the way from Chad. Good evening to you, and thank you so very much for joining us today. All right. So on that note, I think I have no question. Yes, you should learn to find the gold in every season. Yeah, I think that's the key message for today. Learn to find the gold in every season. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully, you'll see me again next weekend with another beautiful topic on this series of how to make your year a successful one. Signing off here is myself, Annabelle Lola. I'll see you again. Bye bye.